Hello everyone. You are warmly welcome back to Steady Right Hub channel. Please remember to subscribe, comment, like and share our videos. In my previous video, I discussed project risk identification and project risk assessment. The video helped us to see that it is very important for project managers to anticipate possible risk that may affect the project success and evaluate how it will also affect the project success. After the project has been identified, what is supposed to be done with the data or what step needs to be followed? There is a need to put in mitigating strategies to manage those risks. So the focus of our presentation today is to look at what risk mitigation is all about, and also we will consider the ways that we can also use to mitigate project risk. And lastly, we consider risk control and documentation. To begin with, what is risk mitigating? Risk mitigation is all about the process of devising a plan to reduce the impact of an unexpected event or risk to the project. This is done after risk has been identified and assessed, and after it has been assessed, the necessary mitigating strategies will be applied to ensure that it does not affect the successful completion of the project. So, what are some of the ways that can be used to mitigate project risk? There are possibly four ways of mitigating project risk, which is usually identified as the four T's. The four T's. Let us look into details about these four T's. So, the first mitigating strategy we will look at is tolerate. The tolerate is one of the four options that are available for the project team and the project manager to apply. What it means is that when the chances or the probability for the project risk to occur and then the consequence of the risk is low, the possible alternative measure to take is to tolerate the risk. The reason being that the risk is sufficiently strong that any action is warranted, in the sense that its effect on the project was not that huge to affect the project's success. So the objective of the project can still be met. So there is the need to still tolerate the risk and go ahead with the project. The second we want to talk about is transfer, risk transfer. It is another means in which project team and then the project manager can also consider depending on its effect on the project. So the transfer is done by taking out insurance cover, or in other words, not putting all supply eggs in one basket. So the risk is transferred to a third party, probably insurance company, to compensate the project team and the company should the risk occur. And with doing so, the company will have to pay a premium to the insurance company. Another means that can also be done to transfer the risk is by using contractual agreements or contractual terms with the suppliers, so that you don't put all your eggs, your supply eggs, in one basket. So some of the contractual terms, such as the blanket ordering, can be used in such a way that an agreement on a price can be agreed upon, payments can be made, just that the goods or the items may not be delivered at a particular time. As and when needed, an order may be placed for the supplier to deliver to hedge against price fluctuations. So, transfer of risk is another means in which the project team and the project manager can use to manage project risk. The next mitigating strategy that we want to look at is the terminate. The terminate option becomes available when the probability of the risk occurring is too high or too great, and to the point that its consequences cannot be reduced. There's no mitigating strategy that can be applied to reduce its impact on the project. The best option is not investing or engaging in the activity or the project at all. That will be the best option to mitigate certain projects. So when the chances of risk occurring is too high and the consequence of the risk is high, should this happen, the option is to terminate the projects. The last of the four T's that can be used to mitigate project risk is treat, or in other words, minimize. That is where you take the necessary action or the steps to manage the risk in such a way that it will reduce its likelihood or its potential impact on the project. So when you realize that the chances of a certain risk, whether financial risk, technological risk, technical risk, or supply risk occurring is high or is low, then you try to put in measures to reduce the chances that those risks will occur. And that is one way by treating the risk. You put in actions, steps to ensure that the occurrence is reduced. If it is 50%, you try to put in measures and then bring it down to something like maybe 10% or 5% of the risk occurring. And should it occur, if the likelihood is low and you are able to bring its impact also low, that means when the risk occur, you can apply the tolerance level because its impact is insignificant. So these are the four possible ways of mitigating project risk. In summary of the mitigating strategies, let us look at this pictorial example. We have the probability of the risk occurring on the vertical axis and then the consequence on the horizontal axis with low and high chances of occurring. So when the chances or the probability is low and then the consequence is low, that is where we have the low risk. The mitigating strategy is to tolerate the risk. But if the probability is high and then the consequence is low, it's a medium risk, and you can decide, you can intend to transfer the risk or treat the risk. And same applies to situation where the chances of occurring is low but the consequence is high. The best is to transfer the risk, or you can also choose to treat the risk. But should you realize that the probability of the risk occurring and then the consequence of the risk is high, it is danger. So the necessary action to take is to terminate the project. This is the summary of what has been discussed so far regarding risk mitigating strategies. The last thing we want to talk about is risk control and documentation. Once the project's risk analysis has been completed, from identification, assessment, and mitigating strategies, it is important to begin a report and documentation system for cataloging and future references. So what it means is that everything that transpired, every risk everything that transpired during the project needs to be documented. And this is usually kept in the lesson learned reports. The lesson learned report keeps record of every activity that happened during the project, including the risk register that were developed from the initial stage of the project. So when the risk register is available and documented together with the lesson learned reports, when similar activities are being undertaken in the future, it can be taken, observe what happened, and what necessary actions can be taken whenever a new project is being developed. And this will help project team and then the project managers to know what strategies need to be put in place for future projects that needs to be undertaken. So it is very, very important to do risk documentation. So far, what have we discussed? We have discussed the risk mitigating strategies, the four T's: tolerate, transfer, treat, and terminate. These will help project managers as to when to terminate the project, when to tolerate the project, when to treat or transfer the project risk. And also, we have identified the risk control and documentation, that it is very important to document project risk in the lesson learned report so that it can be retrieved when similar project is being undertaken in the future. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, comment on our videos, like and share to your friends who may also need this video. If you have any further questions that needs to be addressed, you can use the link provided in the description below to join our focus group discussion for more discussions. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next video.